It seems that whoever is truly orchestrating the actions during the final days of Biden's administration is making a bold and perhaps reckless attempt to implement what could be considered a Chinese-style peace agreement, potentially at the expense of Ukraine's interests. What Gordon was talking about is in fact just the propagandistic narrative of defeat that's going on. This entire extremely very complex, comprehensive whole system, they just simply think they absolutely have no any chance of getting it done in time at all. And Trump's plan will be implemented. And Trump's plan will basically involve the United States moving away from the Spikeman doctrine. This significant doctrine ensured the continued presence of the United States in Europe based on the historical alliance with Germany during the Cold War. This alliance, why it fell apart. Because in fact Germany changed this alliance. The situation escalated into a significant conflict involving multiple parties and resulting in a series of complex challenges that needed to be addressed. It went into strategic cooperation with Russia in a move that was against the United States. This, first of all, will indeed implement the classical Mackinder approach. In short, the most effective and cheapest alliance from the perspective of the United States is with countries whose existence depends on their loyalty to the United States, because indeed, unlike Germany, Poland or Ukraine are unable to cooperate with Russia to expel the United States, because in that case they would cease to exist. Exist? That's more or less in general how it looks, more or less. I personally believe that this particular event or occurrence will indeed be a crucial and pivotal moment that very accurately and precisely predicts the current and ongoing situation in Ukraine. This is about what was discussed, maintaining the military, support for a high-margin economy. That's what we will be observing, more or less. That's how I see it. And all the other points are just simply consequences because we need to contemplate. In terms of how World War II would have looked if, hypothetically speaking, for example, let's consider the scenario where Poland had fought off Germany, isn't it? And from Russia?
In 1939?
Yes, in 1939. Well, I wouldn't cancel this war, would I? This war is undoubtedly systemic. Yes, indeed, it was planned. If that were the case, the war has begun. And this war, in principle, in essence, the magnitude, its plan, it's akin to a comprehensive strategy, a vision that we observe, which operates on an absolute and unparalleled global scale, encompassing various dimensions and aspects of international significance. Imagine the United States being pushed out of Eurasia. A system is gradually emerging from Lisbon to Shanghai. This is basically the degradation of the United States. Do you agree? Not here, the United States as a global superpower. They stop listening to words coming from Washington. Let's just imagine that for a moment this plan worked. Well, indeed, Putin is comfortably sitting on all the communication channels, dealing out cards between China and old Europe. That's what the world looks like. The United States really just seems to fade into the periphery. This didn't happen thanks to the Ukrainian soldier. Did it turn out more like this for me?
In this context, Elon Musk's statements regarding support for AfD, which is a right-wing political party in Germany, Alternative for Germany, and his support for similar political movements in the United Kingdom, don't they seem like they are raising questions about his political stance and intentions that are throwing Europe's economic machine into disorder and confusion in various ways? And this game aims to dismantle the European Union. These fears of Poland about the re-emergence of an expansionist Germany playing more close with Russia could be realized, and without regard to the restraining role of the European Union and those countries that can limit it within the EU through its institutions. With Russia they can be realized, and without regard to the important restraining role of the European Union and its member states, and those countries that can limit it within the EU through its institutions,
is indeed a temporary phenomenon in a political sense, and this is associated with the significant and potential big risks and challenges he faces, because among, in a sense, let us consider for a moment the strongest in this world, Musk is the most vulnerable in terms of Russia. Imagine a catastrophic satellite disaster that results in the complete disappearance of Musk's entire chain of satellites. Please wait. This type of guy. Next, if we take a closer look at the details, we can observe that There's also additional information. Yeah, just the purchase of Twitter, including additional details. Maybe there was, thanks to the influx of money, which comes from sources in Russia and so on and so forth. I think Trump is perhaps playing Elon Musk. It's just business. It's simply just business. Musk isn't merely involved in any sort of major political endeavors. He's just trying to save his stocks. I have done numerous favors and provided significant support for Donald Trump over the years, but it seems that there is simply not enough space in this vast sky for two individuals who both consider themselves to be superstars. So as far as I can possibly ascertain, understand and comprehend, the Alternative for Germany party, there's strong radicalism in Germany, both on the right and the left. There's Sarah Wagenknecht, she's leftist, and they essentially don't differ much from each other. Protests will grow there because the economic situation in Germany is complicated. Essentially, the entire model that Germany operated on collapsed. They don't really differ much from each other, and there will be protests growing because the economic situation in Germany is just very complicated. Essentially, the entire model that Germany operated on has collapsed. This is in essence a model of essentially free transport corridors that were provided and effectively managed by the United States government. Cheaper gas from Russia than from everyone else, cheap labor from Central Europe, and the ability to exploit capital from all over Europe through the euro system, because the euro worked better in Germany than in the peripheries. And overall they had a model that was very effective, built on exports, but which has now broken down systems. And overall we received a model that was very effective, built for export, but which has broken down today. I personally think that some glimmer of hope is in what will be implemented now, and this means, first and foremost, a gradual move away from green energy. Maybe perhaps all this ideology will eventually be shattered into pieces, and in the future they'll return to normal engines. There's already indeed talk about repealing the law that stated that starting in 2035, car manufacturers can only produce electric vehicles. There will just be transformations. I think that somehow stabilization will be achieved, somehow, but it's crucial to understand that German society as a whole is not the aggressor in this context. It's not a question of a country that would want something. It was indeed just a very subtle game of the elites. And the Germans indeed, as they have always been, are still very much pacifists. I think it's certainly indeed a very, very good neighbor. And here at this moment in time, I just don't perceive those risks. I think that Germany will be associated with in the future in many aspects, such as technology, culture and economy. First of all, with the transformation, the migrants, all these restructuring, Europe needs a new idea that should be based on a subtle, profound and deep rethinking of the aggression that occurred against the Central European countries, in particular and importantly and significant, that occurred against the Central European countries